Okay, so for my independent project, I decided to do music technology. And the reason I wanted to do this project was because I was considering it as a major. And so I wanted to like gain as much experience as I could because I did not have any prior knowledge of music technology. And so I wanted to work with like mics and try and learn soundboard stuff and software and see if that was something that did fit for me. Um, so, uh, so for my master technology, I basically um, learned as much as I could. I didn't really get to the software aspect until the very, very end, so I didn't learn as much of that as I wanted to, but I learned quite a bit of like hardware and like terminology stuff that I didn't have prior. So my first week, I like worked on learning this soundboard that I got from someone. So I basically found the manual for this thing, and I like spent the week reading it, and it was a pretty boring read, but I learned all about the things that are labeled there, and it was kind of hard to learn about this specific like board because that manual was the only thing I could find anywhere on the that soundboard, and so I was mostly just reading it, and that's not really the best way that I learn. But I just took notes and yeah. So then the next week I started learning about mixing through a YouTube video that I found. It's like a YouTube channel, and they have videos on. It's kind of like a crash course thing on mixing consoles and then mixing like just mixing itself explained. So I first started learning about just mixing itself, and so this here on the screen is like an example of what you would see on like your console control for mixing and for like balancing instruments. So basically the pan knob is for controlling the volume, or no, this is for the volume. That is for what direction the sound is coming, which like speaker the sound is coming out of. So the pan, if it was to the left, it would come from the left speaker, or if it was to the right, it would come more towards from the right speaker. And then if it's in the middle at 0, then it's like equal sound between the two. And then this here is for the volume, and you would use it to adjust the volume and the like forwardness, or the like not forwardness of the sound, so to move it forward or backward, and that's called fader writing. I also learned from this YouTube video like what different types of sound would look like, so I just kind of like mimicked what they showed me in the YouTube video, but I made these little like diagrams so you can see like the speakers and then all the different instruments and like aspects of the like recording. And so this would be just like a basic 8-track recording, and so you would have like, this is where how the stuff would be spaced, and the like your lowest bass sounds would want to be in the middle for any kind of recording, so that's obviously where they're in the middle. This like opened and defined mixing like version would be more for like jazz recording, and so that's how you would like balance things out like that. And then there's more commercial mixing, which would be like pop music, and it's pretty much just like a wall of sound basically, and because the vocals are like the main aspect of the recording, it's the main focus, but everything else is like balanced around it, and so yeah, it's basically called the wall of sound. And then I started learning about mixing consoles, and so I kind of learned as much as I could with like not actually having a mixing console like to like hands-on do, and so I just like, yeah, tried to gain as much info I could. But there's like the signal pass, and this would be like one part of the console, and this would be your recording device. So like back maybe like I don't know how many years ago, but like they would have used like tapes, but now it's more like computer like software and stuff that would be your recording device. But the microphone goes in the top, and then this is the mixing console channel, and then you would record to the device, and then it would record signal back to the console, so then you could listen to what you're recording and like mess with it there, so you can like hear it and mess with it. Yeah. So there's different types of consoles. There's the split console, which has 3 different types of sections. And there's the monitor section, the master section, and the input section. And so the input section is the microphone inputs. The monitor section is the input received from the tape or the device that you're recording on. And then these arrows would be like the signal pass, and you can see like kind of like this here, where the signals are going to the device and then back to the console. It's just like that pretty much. And that would be like an example. This picture right here would be an example of one of those. And then there's an inline console, and it has 2 level controls, and then it has a channel path and a monitor. And then there's a hybrid console, and there's 1 channel and a subgroup faders. It's pretty much a combination of the other 2. Yeah, and so I used the same YouTube channel, just a different video for that one. The mixing console videos is the one I used. And then I just learned the basics of audio recording. I found a like YouTube crash course video, kind of, not actual crash course, but like crash course. And I watched those and learned some things. I learned about cables. The XLR-F is the female, and it's the device output, so it would be like your mix board or your mix or your board. And then the XLR-M would be your male end, and also the shorter the instrument cable, the better. And then a TRS connector is the balance connector. And then and then I learned about the Pro Di2, which is basically a transformer, and it's mostly for live sound, but you can use it when you're recording too. But it's like a connector between the keyboard and the console, and so you plug it in, and it like it keeps the signal from like actually physically touching, so that there's like less noise, or it pretty much gets rid of noise when you're either recording or having live sound. And I learned about microphones, and so there's the video I watched talked about 4 different types of microphones, and there's the tube condenser, the ribbon, the dynamic mic, and the condenser mic. And the pictures there are condenser mics that we have at Vision Tech that I found, and I just put in here. And then so the ribbon mic is the most delicate of the mics that they talked about in this video, and the dynamic mic is not as easily damaged, but it has lower signal. And then the condenser mic has better signal, but is more fragile. So, and then I did get to just barely get into Pro Tools. My original plan was to work with Reaper, because that was a software that the professors at the college I was looking at were like recommending I try and work in and make stuff in, but it didn't end up working out, because the interface back in the back of our like sound recording studio kind of thing at Vision Tech wasn't working, and then they got Pro Tools hooked up to it, so I just went with Pro Tools because it was the last week, and I just really wanted to like work as much as I could in Pro Tools. So I just, again, barely like got into Pro Tools, but I used this tutorial, probably got like maybe 10 minutes in, not even, but I learned that you make a session, and the session is like the piece of music that you're making, and that's where you like control everything and edit it and stuff. And then your track is, you have a track for everything. You have a track for like your vocal, and then you have your track for your one instrument, and then for another instrument. And there's different types of track. There's mono track and there's stereo track. And mono is for like vocals, and then stereo is for instruments, I think, maybe like keyboard, I think. And then there's different types of tracks also. There's audio and instrument tracks, is the ones that the video talked about. So I also learned how to make a marker, which is like, it would be like a little thing up here, and you would like title it what you wanted it to. So you could like title it was like the chorus, and then you place it where the chorus starts, so you could like find it easier when you have like a very big like long project and stuff. There's also input and output controls. It would be right here and right there. This would be your input, this would be your output. And so the audio mic is plugged into, and which would be the input, and the output would be where the audio is sent. So like your mic would be your input, and your like interface recording stuff would be your output. Yes. And I just like barely recorded something. I wasn't even like hooked up to the interface or anything. I just tried recording something and following the steps of the tutorial. So basically you have to press the record button, and then you have to press 2 buttons in order to record. And you have to press record, and you have to press play, and then it will start recording. And I did it once, and I got like a really like terrible screech sound, and I was like very confused what I did, but I think I didn't hit the record button again when I stopped it, and so it gave me a terrible feedback thing, and so I kind of learned how to handle that. But yeah, that was like the only kind of result I had of this learning. I like product wise, I did learn quite a lot, considering how much I knew before, like going into this project. And like despite like having time issues where I was like gone in class, or like the Pro Tools and stuff wasn't working, and so I had to like rearrange what I was learning and like go into the day thinking, oh, what am I going to learn today? But like I ended up learning quite a lot. So yeah.